Tom Weaver had spent most of his life listening to the wind moving through the endless waves of wheat that surrounded his small, isolated farm in the middle of nowhere. Silence was his constant companion, a presence that filled the spaces where laughter and warmth used to live. Years ago, tragedy had carved a hollow place in him, and the quiet vast, unbroken, indifference settled into that hollow like dust on an old table. He didn't fight it anymore. On a late summer afternoon, Tom was out by the north fence, repairing a post that time in storms had weakened. Sweat slid down his neck as he wiped his brow and muttered to himself. Almost done. He didn't mind talking to himself. When you lived this far from anyone, your own voice sometimes felt like company. He reached for his toolbox when suddenly the entire sky split open, a streak of blue-green light, brighter than any lightning bolt he had ever seen, carved across the heavens in complete silence, heading straight toward his fields. The light wasn't falling, it was steering, guiding itself with unnatural control. The ground trembled beneath his boots as a shockwave rippled through the wheat. Then, a deafening impact shook the earth as something crashed in the field behind the barn. Tom didn't freeze out of fear. Storms, fires, and tornadoes had shaped his life long ago. But because he instantly understood that this was not something earthly, he ran toward the rising plume of dust. The heat from the crater hit him before he reached it. Wheat lay flattened outward, scorched and shimmering with strange green embers. In the center of the massive hole, half buried in steaming earth, was a craft small as a compact car, shaped like a metallic teardrop with a seamless, liquid-looking surface shifting between silver and indigo. Tom inched closer. The air tasted metallic, electric. Suddenly, the craft emitted a soft pulse, like the thrum of a distant engine underwater. A seam he couldn't previously see appeared on its surface, glowing faintly before slowly opening. Tom instinctively stepped back as smoke drifted out. A silhouette moved inside. Then she emerged, or rather, it emerged. Though Tom's mind immediately labeled the being as a she, her skin glowed faintly, a luminous blend of violet and deep ocean blue that shimmered as though lit from within. Her hair was a weightless cascade of turquoise strands drifting around her face like they were suspended underwater. Her eyes large, reflective, a fierce blend of golden green locked onto Tom with an intensity that rooted him to the spot. She stepped forward, wavered, then collapsed. Without thinking, Tom rushed down the unstable slope of the crater, sliding on loose earth until he reached her. He caught her just before she hit the ground fully, surprised by how light she was, far lighter than any human, and how impossibly soft her skin felt, like warm silk with a faint vibration beneath it. She breathed, shallow and rapid. On her wrist was a small device, metallic, glowing with symbols Tom couldn't understand. It flickered to life with a soft chime, a robotic, melodic voice spilled out. Slightly distorted designation Lyra. Tom blinked. Lyra, the translation device, repeated in the same monotone, Hyra, I am Lyra. Her real voice, the one the device was translating, was a fluid, harmonic sound Tom didn't recognize from any human throat. It reminded him of whale songs mixed with wind chimes, beautiful, but alien. Lyra tried to stand but stumbled. Tom steadied her instinctively. Their eyes met. For a split second, he was certain she wasn't just looking at him. She was reading him, seeing every memory, every wound. Then her body sagged in his arms again. Tom looked around the empty field, the smoking crater. The sky above that had already returned to its normal blue. His heart raced. He had no idea what this creature, this woman was, where she came from, or what her arrival meant. But she was hurt. She was alive, and she needed him. Come on, he murmured, lifting her gently. Let's get you out of here. Lyra's skin pulsed faintly under his hand, as if responding to his touch with a soft warmth. The translation device flickered once more, whispering a fragile, robotic tone, thank you, before going dim. Tom tightened his grip, carrying her up the side of the crater and toward the farmhouse, completely unaware that this moment would change the fate of both their worlds forever. Tom pushed open the screen door with his shoulder, carrying Lyra in his arms as gently as he could. She weighed almost nothing less than a child, yet somehow he felt the presence of something vast, something ancient. In the rise and fall of her faint breaths, he laid her carefully on the couch in the living room, a sun-faded old thing covered in a quilt his wife had sewn years ago. He hesitated before draping the quilt over Lyra, unsure if it would disturb her or affect her skin. But when the fabric touched her, her luminous skin dimmed slightly, as if absorbing warmth. The translation device on her wrist crackled weakly, sparks jumping across its surface. Tom crouched beside her. "You crash a spaceship into my farm and scare 10 years off my life," he muttered softly. "But you're still just a person who needs help, aren't you?" Lyra's eyes fluttered open, brief, unfocused. And Tom saw a swirl of colors shift through her irises, golden to green to a blue he had no name for. She whispered something in her own language, a soft pulse of melodic notes. The translator chimed. "Distorted, cold, disoriented. Need time." She fell unconscious again. Tom spent the rest of the night watching her, occasionally checking to see if her breathing changed. The room felt different with her in it, warmer, alive, as dawn crept through the windows, painting the walls in pale gold. Tom realized he hadn't felt this kind of alertness, this sense of purpose, in years. Lyra woke near noon. She pushed herself upright with surprising grace, her glowing skin shifting colors like a waking sunrise. Tom sat at the table, sipping coffee, pretending he hadn't been watching her the entire time. "You're awake," he said. Lyra tilted her head. The translation device lit up. "Your assistance was unexpected." She looked around the room, her gaze lingering on framed pictures, Tom holding his daughter, his wife smiling. "A family whole and alive. You live alone," Lyra observed, her voice filtered and robotic, yet gentle. Tom nodded. "I do, and I guess you do now too. Unless there's more of you crashing around out there." Lyra blinked slowly, her hair floating as though underwater. "I am alone for now." Over the next days and weeks, Tom converted his barn into a makeshift engineering workshop. The craft outside hummed faintly day and night, its surface shifting colors with its internal cycles. Lyra explained its systems piece by piece, using holographic projections that glimmered above her wrist. Tom learned quickly, quicker than he ever expected. The ship wasn't entirely metal, it was partly biological, responding to touch and emotional signature. "You have skill," Lyra told him one evening as he repaired a conduit with a tool that rearranged molecules. "Most humans lack this adaptability." Tom shrugged. "Fixing things is the one thing I'm good at." Lyra paused, watching him with unreadable eyes. "You are good at more than you believe." They began sharing meals together at the small wooden table overlooking fields of wheat. Lyra analyzed everything she ate, fascinated by the textures, temperatures, the simplicity and the complexity of human food. She told Tom stories of distant star systems, water planets with crystalline forests, moons wrapped in floating cities, civilizations that communicated using color instead of sound. Tom, in turn, told her about the life he used to have, his daughter who loved daisies, his wife who painted sunsets, the accident that stole them both. Lyra listened with an attentiveness no human had ever shown him. "Why do you live in isolation?" she asked during one quiet dinner, her translator giving her words a soft metallic echo. Tom looked at his hands. "Because you can't lose what you don't have," he said finally. Lyra leaned closer, her hair drifting, almost touching his shoulder. "Humans are strange," she murmured. "You live in the light, yet you spend so much time studying the shadows." Her fingers brushed his wrist, just a light touch, but warmth spread through him like a quiet sunrise. Her touch felt healing, grounding. Another evening, Tom showed her the small wildflowers growing near the fence. Lyra crouched down, eyes wide with awe as she studied a simple daisy. "This,"
is a miracle.
she whispered,
Perfect.
"is a miracle.
Complex in its
Perfect.
design.
Complex in its design.
Simplicity.
Beautiful in its simplicity." She touched the petals carefully, almost reverently. "On my world, everything is engineered. Nothing grows without intention. But this..." Her skin glowed brighter. "This is freedom." Tom swallowed. "Lyra," he said quietly, "I feel like I've been waiting for you without even knowing it." Lyra looked up, eyes glowing like twin suns reflecting in water. She reached out and touched his cheek, her skin warm, pulsing softly. "I can feel your emotion," she whispered through the translator. Then she leaned in and kissed him. Her lips were warm, soft, charged with a faint energy that traveled through his chest. Her skin brightened in response to his racing pulse, glowing with a deep blue fire. Tom pulled her closer, and for the first time in years, he felt something like home inside his own heartbeat. Lyra whispered, "Your feelings are loud. They change my patterns." They spent nights talking under the stars, sitting on the tailgate of Tom's old truck, while Lyra explained constellations he had never seen, constellations from her home, not his. Her head occasionally rested on his shoulder, her glowing skin shimmering in the moonlight, like liquid starlight. Weeks passed. Lyra healed. The ship grew more functional. And Tom's heart opened in ways he had long thought impossible. He didn't know that everything he felt, everything he gave, was feeding something more than affection. Something he never expected. Something that would break him. But for now, under the soft hum of the alien ship and the whisper of wind through the wheat, Tom let himself believe that the universe had finally given something back to him, that the loneliness was over, that Lyra was meant to find him.
Meant for me.
And Lyra let him believe it, even as her eyes sometimes drifted toward the stars with a sadness she never explained. Even as the device on her wrist flickered at night with messages she didn't let him hear. Even as every moment between them became part of a story that had started long before Tom ever saw the sky tear open. Lyra was healing, but she was also counting down, and the day of truth was coming. The night it all fell apart began like any other, too quiet, too still, with the wheat fields swaying beneath a moon that looked almost silver blue, as if it had borrowed a piece of Lyra's glow. Tom lay half asleep in bed, the warmth Lyra had left beside him earlier still lingering in the sheets, when a faint vibration pulsed through the floorboards. It was subtle, but he knew this house well enough to recognize every natural sound it made, and this wasn't one of them. He sat up slowly. Another vibration followed, then a soft hum, too steady and rhythmic to be the wind. Tom got out of bed, pulling on his boots, listening. The hum grew stronger, and he knew exactly where it was coming from. The barn, Lyra's workspace, or rather their workspace, the place where they had spent hours together repairing her ship, sharing stories, touching hands, exchanging thoughts that felt too big for words. Tom stepped out onto the porch. The night air was cool, the stars clear and painfully bright. The hum intensified, becoming a low-frequency thrum that seemed to pulse through the ground. A blue glow flickered from the cracks of the barn doors. Tom moved toward it, each step heavier than the last, a strange dread curling in his stomach, though he didn't know why. As he approached, he heard Lyra's voice, soft, rapid, speaking in her native tongue, the harmonic sound of it echoing faintly through the wooden walls. He had never heard her speak that way before. Fast, precise, professional, not the warm, curious tone she used with him. Tom reached the door and stopped. His hand hovered over the handle. Something in him hesitated, not out of fear for his safety, but fear for something else, something deeper. He pushed the door open. The barn was filled with swirling blue holographic light. In the center of the space, Lyra stood with her back to him, bathed in the glow of a massive projection emitted from her wrist device.